Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the jet lag coverage here at RHAP. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me, as always, it's Sasha. How you doing, Sasha?
Listen, I'm locked in. All right, I'm locked in. I'm ready to go because no more. Okay, no more shenanigans.
You know what? I hadn't thought of locking in before. That's a great idea. I think we should try it. We should
You're
both
welcome.
try locking in.
Got it. Listen, and I have a non-musical instrument. I think you do too. Yep. So let's go.
That actually worked. Oh my God.
I know I heard it, and I said, "Wait, pause." Oh
um,
my
We're
gosh.
here to talk about episode 2 of Jet Lag the Game, season 13, the Schengen Showdown, with Tom Scott. And I'm going to just
And
say
Ben
it,
and Adam. No, I'm just kidding.
and Ben and Adam. I'm going to say it up front. I think, personally,
Yes. Okay.
I think this episode is in the conversation, a contender
Mm-hmm.
for best jet lag episode. I think it was a
Oh.
really good episode.
I loved it. And because I have so many questions and I love a good episode where I get to just ask questions and be confused as a viewer because then I want more and I want to like go everywhere. I want to get on a podcast and talk about it. So I liked it. I don't know if it's like top for me, but like I'm with you on why, if that makes
Mhm. I just feel like
sense.
it hit on so many levels.
Yes.
The challenges were really compelling and,
Hmm.
dare I say, quite stressful. Um,
Okay.
but then also like the overarching strategic
Hmm.
landscape was also
Yeah.
interesting with like where are we going to go, when are we going to go there, and then like the race to get to the place was also really interesting. It just like it felt like everything kind of coordinated around making the exact most compelling thing happen in this one
Mhm.
particular episode, and I thought it was really, really great.
Yeah, and listen, me and now that you've talked through it, I realized why I didn't like why it wouldn't be top. Because it's hard being a Sam plus guest stan sometimes. Because it's just like, what do y'all be doing, right? Like, what's happening? And that's why I think it's just I feel like I'm taking it personal. That like
Mm.
to me, I'm like, this is nuts. What are we
I
doing?
feel like I very much go back and forth. We talked about a lot about like during hide and seek. I always root for the hider,
Yeah,
but like I feel like I'm definitely fickle. I would say I normally root for the underdog in
I'm
Sam plus
not.
guest
Well, are they
series.
the underdogs?
Well, this is the thing. It just
Oh, that's
depends. Like
crazy for me.
once they get a huge lead, I'll start rooting for the other team to start making it close
Oh,
again.
I got you. Yes.
In this instance, though, I think I'm rooting for I'm rooting for Ben and Adam in the sense that like they are the ones who are trying to mess up Tom and
Yes,
Sam,
correct.
and I want them to succeed in messing them up because I want more team conflicts. If that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. See, Taryn likes mess and drama too, y'all. Y'all be putting it on me, but look at this, all right? Okay, I'm with you on that. For me, I always think like Sam plus guest because Sam's like quote unquote boss before. Now I think it's more even, but I think that's why I was like, oh, since he like was, the start of all of this, he must know more. And I don't like an underdog.
Mm.
So but now I'm like, oh my God, I like the underdog. So very, very big personality crisis for me right now.
Well, so basically what I'm rooting for heading into episode 3 is whatever is going to get them to be fighting for the same countries again, because
Yes.
I'm really enjoying that, and so I hope we get more of it. But I thought this was a very
Just,
fun. Go ahead.
sorry, on that point, I just wanted to know, do Sam and Tom ever come up? If they're going for the same countries, it's giving challenge beast Adam and Ben are gonna
Mm.
just win. So at this point, I'm like, I need to separate you two. You go over there, you go over there. So I'm getting some competition. So that's where I'm stressed.
Well, I think any challenge that doesn't require an internal clock, they'll have a chance.
We're apparently blowing into things. What can't Adam and Ben do? All right. That's all I'm saying.
They can't lock in sometimes, I think, but
Yeah. Sam and Tom, have you tried locking in?
so, I wanna talk about the challenges because
Yes.
I think that and I don't know if you felt the same way, but, like, for me in this episode, this was the most stressed I've been watching challenges on jet lag because I feel like they're not usually quite so do or die,
Mhm.
usually so failable. And like the importance of them on top of how easy it is for them to fail and the fact that they don't know them ahead of time has really made them more compelling to watch as challenge.
Correct.
I feel like in many jet lag seasons, you like open a challenge and be like, eh, I'm probably not gonna be able to do that. Or like, I'll give it a shot. And if I don't make it, then that's not great, but we'll manage. We're
Mhm.
like, if we don't make this, we're kind of screwed. We just made a big swing and we failed. And when the failure state is nobody can stop for more than 5 seconds, it's like, are you serious? Like this is the first challenge that like they it's let's pull it up on the screen here. It's called this is the map, but this is called
Mhm.
Open an Unpopular Museum.
Yes.
And this is for France, and they're trying to steal France. If we look back at the map, so the idea is that they have to go to a museum. It says any museum. This was I saw this point of contention that
Yeah.
they out of France to find a museum, but it does say any museum. It does not specify that it has to be in France. Uh,
I also need to say, because yeah, people are struggling on this. The whole point of the whole season is that they're able to freely travel, right? Like that's the Schengen Showdown. So what are we doing? That say being mad at the boys for being like, "Oh, you should have stayed in France, or you should." But no, the whole point is it's open borders. Do what you want. And to me, what could be more open borders than quickly hopping over to a little museum and coming back? Stop it. Stop it. Read the tagline first.
and then they have to recreate a museum, and have at least 5 visitors. Nobody can stop for more than 5 seconds. And I very much so like I because I also saw some people talk about like was it really in the spirit of the challenge for them to hide it behind a thing? And I did like I had that thought when I was watching, but then when you look at like the rule set again, nobody can stop for more than 5 seconds. It's like the challenge is basically designed for you to hide it. Like if it's
Mhm.
if it's anything remarkable in any way, somebody will stop for more. If it's anything at all, somebody might stop for more than 5 seconds, and it's 10 minutes. 10 minutes where nobody can stop for more than 5 seconds. Very clearly, this is like I think the intention of this challenge is that you have to find. It's all about the location. They choose a door in like a train station, and this is like this challenge more than any other challenge would stress me out so much if I were competing. I just watching it, I was stressed out because you don't have control over it. Like
Yeah.
that is terrifying to me. Um, the idea that like you put it there and now I have to wait 10 minutes just watching this. It was like every time they sped up the camera, it was like they were releasing a pressure valve in my brain of like, thank you, please, faster. Like we need this to go.
No one clipped that.
Thanks, Sasha. Uh, um, I need this to stop. I need this to be over. And the fact that like I had multiple thoughts. I had what if somebody stops and turns around in the doorway? I
Yes.
thought, what if somebody recognizes them? And then literally both of those things happened. And I was like, this isn't. And then after they get recognized, Ben's standing like near the door. And me and Adam at the same time said, Ben, don't stand near the door.
Which is again, as someone that was rooting for the challenge to fail, I say, yeah, stay there, please. Because again, the shout out to our queen Amy, because this challenge on paper feels hard, right? But the way they're able to use their brains and use like a creative piece, right? would you have thought to put it in a doorway? Maybe once I get to the train station and looking around, I would have found a little nook and cranny and, like, done it that way, but I just thought that was genius, and I was you're right, I was still stressed out because I said, "No, it has to fail. There's no way. This is crazy. People are just walking through." So, so good, so good.
And this is again, it's why like the fact that somebody did stop for like over 4 seconds, but
Ooh,
under 5 seconds, right at the buzzer, was just wild. So just really really fun challenge. This is sort of the requirements here.
yes.
Um, so I thought that was great. And then, of course, we have the other challenge, which is the even more dramatic one: play classical music on non-classical instruments, and it's just so hard.
Are you a musically inclined human?
I would say generally yes.
Oh, okay, and then you're saying it's hard.
It would be I mean, and quite frankly, I don't know that being musically inclined is super helpful in this particular instance. I mean, keeping a beat certainly is important,
Mhm.
but like, it may be reading, being able to read sheet music, but I don't think
Yeah,
even that is like super necessary.
got it.
It's really just like I guess you're more used to memorizing things like this, but this is just like a hard thing in general. It's a decent amount of like notes and time, and you have to be right on the beat. I was like, yeah, please like get a metronome, like, um, and then also like the blowing of the bottles, doing so much of it to practice, 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 and then
Mhm.
do it like I imagine you would get fairly lightheaded after all of that.
I mean, add him for the challenge, right? Like, this is outrageous. The fact that he's messing up this much, but then they're able to there was some drama with the sheet music, which I'm sure will
Yeah.
be fixed for the YouTube version of it. But if you're Nebula subscriber, you know the tea. But either way, right? Like the fact that they knew, hey, we needed to take these glass bottles and they kind of locked in, no pun intended, very quickly on like this is what we're gonna do. We just need to fix it versus Sam and Tom couldn't even figure out the instrument,
hmm I mean,
and it was
I think that
stress.
Tom had a decent idea with
Yes.
the rulers. I think that like because I think his theory is correct that if you can
Mhm.
set up the rulers with the right rulers in the right place properly, it will be easier than blowing in the bottles and more consistent. However, getting bottles and setting that up is a lot easier and faster to then get going and start practicing.
Yeah,
So I think there were drawbacks to the idea.
of course. And, Taryn, I immediately thought of this, but the boy, Sam and Tom being in Vienna, big city, like we talked about last episode, was was a flop because I wonder if they were in a smaller city without less noise, would they
hmm
be able to lock in, right? Because they don't have a lot of options. The world isn't their oyster in the way that, hey, we can find this, we can find that, we can find that. No, you can get you can get glass bottles really in the small town, and that's kind of it, and lock in. So I just felt like the crowd and the options of a big city, maybe not the best for this particular option. Maybe good for
Yeah.
finding flowers.
Yeah, I mean, this was like the perfect storm for Ben and Adam, where
Yes.
they were immediately able to find glass bottles. You probably wouldn't be able to do that very easily in the U.S. Let me
No.
tell you.
Uh, I know I live in crunchy, like, Bay Area, and yeah, it would still not be the I think I would have to buy the same bottle basically because
I
I
mean,
know there's the one kombucha
you
that comes in
you
glass.
might have, and I thought about this too, because they ultimately have to go for a wine bottle. It might
Mhm.
ultimately have been easier to do all wine bottles,
Yeah.
because then
Oops,
they'd
all
all be at the same
wine.
height. But at that point, they'd already committed to all the other bottles.
Mhm.
Um, So I think that if you can think of wine bottles, then you can probably find those fairly easily. But
Yeah.
my thought was it's expensive, but then I realized they don't have a budget for that, so that's fine.
Yep.
Um,
Also, I personally then would have gotten my drunk Ben moment if they were all wine, because I don't think are we wasting wine like that? Question mark. I hope not.
So anyway, yes, I agree. I think being in the big city, it was definitely interfering with like the tuner, and finding a place. Like, even this is my thing, even if they had found the rulers that they needed, like, where do you set that up where it's quiet enough and you have enough space to sort of like put the rulers in the right place and make sure they're locked in and then start practicing.
Mhm.
I feel like that was like a tricky situation for them.
Yeah.
But just another moment where Adam comes in clutch. He locks in, and he nails it, and is similar to the other challenge. As he's going through it, I'm just like, I just want this to be over. I just like, can we speed through this, please? This is so stressful.
Oh my gosh. I was reading a few comments where folks were like, "No, I literally had to go to the end to see what happened and then watch it back." And I said, "No, I live for this, baby." Right? Like this is why roller coasters are fun. This is why people
Mhm.
get on roller coasters, cuz you're just like, "Am I going to die? What will happen? Why does my stomach feel like this?" And then you're like, "No, but I'm a sicko and I enjoy this." So it's just truly cinema, because this is happening, and then on the other side they're like, maybe we just let him fail. and
Yes.
and I said, yes, this is a strategy that we haven't seen in a while. Chef's kiss. I want more of this type of thinking.
And so this is interesting to talk about because
Mhm.
Tom immediately has the idea of, should we just ignore the challenge entirely, essentially, and just let them take their shot and hopefully fail, given how difficult this is and how frantic they might
Yes.
be. And I I think, similar to Tom, immediately had the same thought of like that. I think like if they just let them fail, that works really well. They don't have to waste any time doing this challenge. They can start moving. However, then you realize, and I'm sure they did as well,
Mhm.
the second we start moving and like don't look like we're doing this challenge, they can see it on the tracker and
Yep.
realize that we're not attempting it, and then they can slow down and take their time, and then maybe almost guarantee that they succeed. So while I think it was a good thought, ultimately what they did was what they had to do, which is,
Mhm.
we might as well try because we can't look like we're not. And so it didn't quite work out, but I do think that it was the right idea in general.
Yep. And again, who are we? Because I just enjoyed even watching the frantic challenge attempts, right? Like usually this stuff could get boring or it can get a little repetitive, but every single piece of this, the way they've edited it, the way they've, just their personalities felt like compelling and drawing me in, where I kept checking the time to be like, "Oh my god, how long do we have left? What are they going to do? Are we, is this a cliffhanger? Or, are all of a sudden Tom and Sam gonna just like get it?" Because it sounded to me like Tom was more musically inclined and had a little, again, I don't know if that's truth, any truth to it, but it felt like Tom was more technical with like how he was giving like feedback to Sam, right? Sam was like, "Well, we could use maracas." And and Tom goes, "No," because like you can't pitch that. And then we were at paper straws. Then eventually we get to test tubes. And I said, if you could find test tubes and then attempt this challenge, you need to get one country free.
Yeah, I mean, because again, like their strategy was finding a more optimal
Mhm.
instrument in the first place, and because of that, there was still this stress of, not only might Adam and Ben fail this, but if Tom and Sam find the correct set of rulers or whatever, they will likely be able to complete this challenge much more efficiently and quickly catch up to where Adam is. So yes, some interesting stuff there. There's a moment though that I think was, there are a couple of moments I really liked in this episode, but I think my favorite one was during this challenge when there is a person who comes up to Ben and Adam and is like, "Oh, you guys from America?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're from New York." And he's like, "Oh, New York, New York City." And I was like, "Oh, this is so funny." But very clearly, Adam is like trying to be friendly, but also like, I need to practice. And so Ben is trying to like take over the conversation. In the meantime, Adam starts just like blowing in the bottles, and Ben is like, "Yeah, New York City." And then eventually, Adam says, "Sorry, I just really need to focus on this." And it's like imagining being that person of like having
Exactly.
no idea what they're
Mhm.
doing and trying to talk to these two tourists, and then them being like, "Sorry, I'm a great conversation, but I really need to focus on what I'm doing right now," and then start blowing into bottles weirdly.
And again, has this town ever seen anything, this like this ridiculous? I don't know.
To me, it was the utter seriousness with which he
Correct.
said it. Like it was no hint of irony or joking. It was like very like, "I'm really sorry. I need to focus on this right now." And then starting to blow into bottle. It was just a phenomenal moment for me.
Taryn, they also added a little thing at the bottom that said, "This is not a jet lag fan, it's just a random." Oh, babe, we know, because why is he screaming east side randomly? Like, what are we doing here? And then they're saying, "Oh, if it was a jet," basically saying, "If it was one of you, we'd say hi, no problem." But because it wasn't, we can do that. What are we doing?
So ultimately, he pulls it through here,
Yeah.
and they manage to steal the country. And what a moment. It was just like this whole episode just felt like so like well put together. And again, it's like obviously the editing was good, but like I think they also, the events of the game played
Yeah.
out so well. And I think that was just really, really fun. We end on them winning the challenge, and we don't see the call. Now, on the Layovers podcast,
Mhm.
the Layover podcast, Tom Scott asked them, "Look, why didn't you end on a cliffhanger?" And I loved their answer, because it's
Mhm.
exactly what we have said before
Yes.
about many other shows, including Jet Lag at times, which was essentially like, "Yeah, we we don't want to like rug pull the audience. We want the best cliffhanger is one that promises more, rather than like essentially takes away." And the fact that like there are creators that like can very well articulate that fact and implement it into an episode, and have it work really, really well, especially in light of like other shows still failing to, I think, recognize this fact, is really fun. Really enjoyed that moment on the the Layover podcast. And the fact that Tom Scott was like, like, who cares what the audience thinks? Like, just put a cliffhanger if you're gonna put a cliffhanger. But then after hearing their explanation, was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. That's a good
Yeah.
reason.
Can you imagine, like, what you were talking about, your feelings watching this challenge? Me just being like, "Yay, I'm on a roller coaster," and the ride never ending. Oh my god, I would have come on this podcast. No, it would have been a whole
It
different
would,
kind of
yeah.
lockdown.
And I think that over time it would make you start to like guard your feelings against
Correct.
the show, to be like, well, I can't get too invested because it might not pay off. So I mean, that certainly happens to me. We were just
Mhm.
talking about like the Traders recently had a big cliffhanger toward the end of its season. It's just like, yeah, like I'm just not going to be that invested if I can't guarantee that I'm going to find an outcome here. Um, so I thought that was very fun. There's also this battle just to get to Austria, and Scott and Tom are Scott. I did it
I
again.
love it. I
I
love
knew I was
it.
going to do it.
I'm obsessed. That's why I said
Sam and
Sam first.
Tom,
Yep.
Sam and Tom are flying to Vienna, and they're expecting Ben and Adam to fly to Vienna, but they have an alternate plan, which is to take a train there. And just again, this is why I'm like very on board with Ben and Adam right now, which is because they are the ones doing like the tricky things.
Correct.
And like Tom is just like, they're twice they've now they've done something we haven't expected. They must have spotted something, and then they cut to Ben and Adam on a train going, "Oh, look, a rainbow." Love that
Again,
moment.
it's just the way they edit this is so funny. Like, it's so ridiculous, it's so silly, and makes it makes the whole like package so much more enjoyable, because I'm here raging, right? To be like, Sam and Tom, like, there's so many ways we could get to where we need to get to. It can't just be your way. And especially with Ben and Adam, we know that they're always going to find the fourth or fifth way, even though you laid out three ways that they could get there. So it's just, I'm personally against shambles right now, but it's hilarious to how chill Ben and Adam are, because they're like, oh, they're doing the thing exactly what we thought they would do, versus Tom in shambles on the plane being like, oh my God, they're doing the thing we didn't think about. They're doing the thing. Come on. But
Yes.
at a certain point, I hope episode 3 is like, we know that they're gonna do something crazy, so we just gotta play our own game.
Well, I feel like they're in a position to do well from here because
I
they still
beg.
have like the better positioning,
Yes.
whereas Ben
On
and
the
Adam are
end.
now like at the bottom corner
Mhm.
of Austria. So it still does feel like they have a lot of ability to climb back up from where they are. But yeah, it's funny because like we've talked to Ben, Adam, and Sam about like how we often root for them to be stressed because that's more
Yes.
entertaining. And now I'm very much like Tom Scott gets to experience that because man, do I love watching Tom Scott be stressed out about what Ben and Adam are doing. It's just so much fun.
'Cause he's just like us, right? Like, he's
Yeah.
literally like, oh, if a fan happens to go on and they know all the ins and outs of everything, including, right, like, at Brussels airports being like, "I'm not touching it." Is a human an animal? Nope. Don't put me in it. Why am I involved, right? So this is how you know this is a stan. And then for a stan to be in shambles like this, unfortunately, we love. And I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I thought very, very fun episode. Of course, it ends with Ben and Adam in a pretty good spot here. Four
Yeah.
to two score, three of which are locked. And the one that is not locked is currently, I would say, like fairly out of the range
Correct.
of Tom and Sam. So they are. I don't think I can zoom in here, but
Mm,
they are in this
nope.
like area where there's a like a grouping of countries. You can see there in the, sort of like the mid bottom right ish area
Yes.
where Austria is, where they're going to be able to scoop up a bunch of those countries, I imagine, before Ben and Adam can get there.
Mhm.
But then the question is, will they be able to steal some of those countries? And then you have this question of like, do you spend time locking in each country when you get there? Or should you like ride through all of them, then start locking them in? And I kind of feel like the latter would make more sense to me, but it depends on like what your routes are. Because if
Yeah.
you can like get a quick route to just scoop up all four or like all now all three
Mhm.
other countries in this area, I feel like there is still a big advantage to forcing the other team to try the challenge and potentially fail the challenge. Um, and as long as it doesn't set you back too much time wise, you can then also still just start locking countries in anyway after you finish. I feel like there is still a big advantage to getting there first, even though it hasn't worked out for them a couple of times now.
Yeah.
But because they've had bad experiences both times not locking a country in, it makes me wonder if they are going to start locking things in more often, more quickly.
Mhm. Oh, also this map I just realized is older because Romania and Bulgaria are now part of the Schengen. But here's the thing I have to ask you, Taran, and maybe we just have no idea because we're Monday morning quarterbacking, but, like, what you were saying, I agree with. I do think that they need to, like, get a move on. I'm talking about Sam and Tom, and the question also I have is, if they move on, they move. I think they should do it via train. I think going on the
Mhm.
plane was a huge setback because I didn't realize you can't do a task within 3 miles
Mhm.
of an airport, which I think that's fair because technically, right, you might get there faster. If you're on an airplane and had the trains not been canceled, they would have been in Vienna, the night before. Sure. Agree to all of this, but I still feel like an airport overall in Europe maybe might be similar-ish time if you're neck and neck with someone on a train.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that there just wasn't another good way for them to
Yeah.
get there in this spot, and they just didn't recognize that Ben and
Mhm.
Adam could have taken a
Correct.
train,
Yeah.
which again was just very entertaining. But yeah, I think they thought the only way to get there is by
Entertaining.
plane,
Yeah.
because that's true for us, so it must probably
Mhm.
be true for them too, and that they would have an advantage there. But yeah, I mean that's why it was so fun to watch Ben and Adam take the train and then be like, what is happening?
Yeah. So I think we're gonna move to a lot. I hope rather, it would make sense to move to more trains, right? Where we're able
Well,
to kind of hop on, hop off.
if anything, I think that like plane rides will become more common as the game progresses because I imagine there's going to be like two stages to this game
Oh yeah.
where
I
the first
I'm
stage
with
is
you
just
on
kind of
that.
like get to as many
Correct.
countries as possible, but then
Correct.
the next stage is going to be getting to the countries that have not been locked in, and they might be sporadically spread out
Yes,
throughout
that's for sure
the
plain.
the area.
Yes.
At which point you will want as much of your plane budget as possible, so that
Correct.
you can hop around and just lock in those, either lock in or steal those
Mhm.
cities.
And
So,
an
yeah.
additional layer to what you were saying, right? Where again, for me, the strategy also makes sense to go through as many as possible because maybe Ben and Adam will start stealing, but no way they're going to steal every single one, right? Just because of timing. So if they're not able to attempt something, or maybe they attempt and failed, et cetera, then you're able to kind of, like you said, deploy the plane strategy to come back and get, and double check
And
your work,
it's
basically.
just yeah, and it's just such an advantage in the sense that like if they try and fail to lock in to steal a country, that
Hmm.
is a country that has now been locked in for you because
Correct.
you didn't need to do the challenge and
Yes.
it's now still locked in. So that's a huge advantage and you shouldn't rely on it for sure, but like it's much better to leave that as a possibility than to like I think focus on like let's make sure to lock this one in,
Hmm.
leaving open somebody else to get to other countries first. While so yeah, I mean, I think that, but
Hmm.
it also just again still so much depends on where you can get to and how quickly. Because if you can't get through all the countries quick enough, then it might be more valuable to just start locking in.
Yeah, and all depends on what strategy Ben and Adam also deploy, which is like
Mhm.
which is the point of the game and why we're really excited and why I think this is gonna be a really great season because all of so many variables plus the challenges are so different and fun. So
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
All right, Sasha. Anything else from this episode?
No, I did wanna take a moment, not for the episode, but to thank everyone, for, like, how great they've been with us coming back to weekly recaps. All your comments help, and a few folks were asking, like, "Do I need to watch on YouTube?" You don't. Like, please do whatever is easiest for you, however, you would like to consume our content is good for us, but if you are on YouTube, listen, leave us a comment. But don't stress out, on stuff like that because I saw a few comments like that. So, wanted to just say thank you to all our listeners because 'cause y'all are killing it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's episode 2 then. We will be back next week to talk about episode 3 of Jetlag the Game, season 13. And in the meantime, you can check out all these other stuff we're doing. We got scripted content, talking tastemakers, all the new shows. Wheel of Time podcasts are coming. If
Mm.
you're a Wheel of Time fan, we're doing the Big Brother retrospective. I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube, watching Survivor, playing games, doing all kinds of fun stuff like that. Sasha, how about you?
Yes, and of course, I am talking celebrity gossip, anything trending over on Mess Magnets with Kirsten McKennis. I am talking Daredevil over on We Know Scripted TV's YouTube, and We Know Marvel is the audio feed. So check that out. Jason Reed and I are having the time of our lives. In episode 1, 2, and 3. Our podcasts on it are already out. So check that. And yeah, for everything else, just follow me online.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And we will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.